TextViews. Hello everyone, it's time to talk about TextViews in this video. So we spoke about components in Android Studio in the last video. We mentioned some layouts, and right now we're going to talk about which Android components to place on these layouts. One of them is TextView. So, what exactly is TextView and what can you do with it? So TextView is a component to show text to the users. I know it seems elementary, but stay with me. You can use TextViews as labels or to print some results on the screen or to print some notifications on the screen and that kind of thing. TextViews can be used in a lot of different areas. So it's pretty much the most commonly used component. So we'll go back to Android Studio and have a look at how TextViews work in practice. Now we can add TextViews two different ways to Android applications. And of course the first one is to drag and drop it into the Android Studio like this. All I'll do is drag TextView, drop it under the constraint layout. And now we have TextView and its text is also TextView. So we can change this text whenever we want to. This was the first way. Also, of course, there is another way. Always another way. And I'm just going to delete this TextView and create a new one using XML code. And I'll go into the XML side. And now I'm going to write TextView XML code under the constraint layout. And I'm writing here, TextView, and Android Studio will autocomplete it. Now I just need to give some values for the layout width and height, and I'll just write wrap content for both of them. Now this will define height and width of the text view. Now we have a text view here, but we don't see it because we did not write some text. So I'm going to add a new line of text inside the text view using XML code. I'll write inside text view, hello world. And to do this, I will just need to write Android : text. And inside the quotation marks, I will write text. So whatever I write inside the quotation marks, the text of the text view will be what I write. So now the text of TextView is hello world. So I choose wrap content for height and width of TextView. And then setting a TextView size to wrap content will force it to expand only far enough to contain the values it contains. Right? So if I add new words to the text, the size of the TextView will be bigger. And if I change it to bigger number size inside the text view, the height of the text view will also be bigger. When I change text size to 20 dpi, and the text view size gets smaller, of course. So when I change text size to 40 dpi, text view's size gets bigger, way bigger. Now, on the other hand, I can choose the width of TextView as a match parent. So when I write match parent here, TextView will cover all of the device screen from left to right. And then also when I write match parent for layout height, the TextView will cover all of the device screen from top to bottom. So now I'll choose wrap content for layout height. Of course, also I can give numerical values for height and width. So let's give 150 dpi for width and 75 dpi for height. And also I'm going to drag TextView to the center of the screen. So when I click TextView, I can see the attributes section on the right side of Android Studio. And I can also see all of the operations I can do right here everything that I can do to TextView. For example, I can change the layout margin here. And then when I change the layout margin, TextView position will change on the screen. Now, if I write 250 dpi here, TextView's position will go down. If I write 150, it'll go up. And I can give numbers from here for left, right, top, and bottom. Layout margin defines the position of the TextView. Also, there's another attribute here. It's called padding. If you're not familiar with padding, padding defines the text position inside TextView. So if I write 25 in the left box, see how the text will go 25 dpi from left to right. So if I write 10 in the top box, the text will go 10 dpi from top to bottom. Also, I can change the text size in the attribute section. So if I choose 24 dpi, the text will be bigger. When I choose 14 dpi, the text will be smaller. Now, all the changes that we made in the attribute section will be added in the background as XML code. Now, if you want, you can write XML code to do the same operations, or you can use the attribute section. So let's see what else we can do in the attribute section. We can change the background color from here. I will choose color accent as a background color. And now the background of TextView is changed like so. There's gravity here. You can define text position automatically inside the TextView from here. So I'll choose center, and text will take the center position vertically and horizontally. But if I choose this, I'll need to change gravity to 0. And now we can change text color from here as well. So for example, let's say that I want to choose white and the text color will be white. We can do a lot of operations from here. But also we can do these operations on the Java side. You don't think I was going to leave that out, do you? But before we work using Java code, we will need to give an ID to this text view. You remember when we talked about it before? So on the Java side, this text view needs to be given an ID in order to be recognized. So I'm going to give it text example as an ID. And now our ID of text view is text example. And text of text view is hello world to the human. So let's go to the Java side. First up, I need to call TextView as my class and give a name to this TextView. And I'm going to use this name on the Java side. You can give it a name, whatever you want. I gave the name text, I'm creative that way. Now, after that, I do need to call this text in the create method. So I will write text equals, and I will write find view by ID. And I will call TextView from the XML side using its ID. And I'll write inside the parentheses r.id.text example. So see, now we have assigned TextView to the text we created on the Java side. Now I can do all of the operations that I've done on the XML side here, but how will I do this? I'll just write text here, and I will add point here. Then after the point, I can see all of the operations automatically. And I can set a new text from here. So there are plenty of operations here that I can choose from. For example, I can choose set text color. So I'll choose a color, writing color dot black. And then when I write this code, nothing has changed on the XML side. The changes will be applied when I run this application on the device. So I'll click Run. And then, after the device opens, I can see the changes in the application. So it'll take some time to get to the device online. There we go. Now you can see that the text color is black. Cool. Okay, so also I can change the text using set text code. I'll write text.setText, and inside the parentheses, I will write new text. I want to change, and I will write this as an example. But you should be careful now. You need to write text inside the quotation marks, right? And I'll just run it again. There you go. Now you see that the text has changed. So in addition, we can add a feature to TextView. And if we click to TextView, we can start the operation. So for example, when we click onto the TextView, we can open a new activity, or we can change the text size or text color. So let's try it like this. How are we going to do this? I will add a click listener to this text view. You see it? I will write text.setOnClickListener, and then inside the parentheses, new view on click listener. And I will write new codes inside the onClick method. Now, of course, these codes will work only when I click to the text view, right? I will write inside the onClick method text.setTextColor. Color.white. Click Run again. And after a while, the device is running. And now you can see here that there's not any changes in the text view. How come? After I click on the text view, the code will work and the text color will be white. So let's change the background color of the text view. I will write text.setBackgroundColor, color.black. And I'll click Run again. Now you can see that after I click Text View, the text color will be white and the background of the text view will be black. So we can do a ton of other operations here. But for now, that's enough for one video, believe me. There are other components that we need to learn, so make haste. I'll see you in the next video. Buttons. Hello, everyone. I want to speak about buttons in this video. No, not the ones on your jumper, your sweater, anywhere else, your shirt. Buttons on Android components. So when you click on buttons, buttons will do specific operations. Buttons are one of the most useful components, and I'm thrilled to be able to tell you about them. So if I want to count 3 of the most used components, I'll definitely say buttons, text views, and edit text. So in the last video, we spoke about text view. This video is about buttons, and we're going to speak about edit text in the next video. I know, I'm transparent, aren't I? So let's go ahead into the Android Studio without losing any more time. So we have an open project from the last video, and we have a text view in this project. So now we're going to add a new button to the project, and as you perhaps remember before, we can add a new button in two ways. First one is drag and drop. Boom, I added a new button, and of course I can drag it wherever I want and change my mind, and that's because I use constraint layout. Just snaps like that. Now the second way to add a new button is by using XML code. So why don't we add a second button using XML code? Now, just go over to the XML side, and you can see here, XML code that I've added a button before. I'm going to write button here, and Android Studio will auto-complete it. Okay, so now I need to define height and width, and I'll choose match parent for two of them. And you can see here we have a second button, but it covered the whole screen. So I'm going to change height to wrap content. Okay, so now the button covered the screen just from left to right. Now we need to give some text to this button. And I'm going to write here Android text, and inside the quotation marks button 2. And now you can see the button and button 2. So why don't we change the width of button 2 to be wrap content. And now we have two buttons. The first one is created by drag and drop. The second one is by using XML code. Now, we can do a lot of operations with these buttons, right? We can do these operations in the attributes section. So we can define height and width here. We can specify layout margin from here. Also, we can define padding here. You remember that I mentioned that before, right? Padding defines the text position inside the button. So let's just go over it again. If I write left 20, text will go 20 dpi to the left. Also, when I write 20 dpi, text will go 20 dpi down. Now I can change the button text from here too. So I'll just write in here quickly, do your magic, and you can see the button got bigger, because the button width is wrap content. Okay, so when the text gets longer, the button will get bigger in order to cover the text. And I can change the background color of the button from here as well. And I'll choose a color from here, and the button color will change. Now also, I can choose the button to be clickable or not. Now you can probably think of why I put a button in the project, and I didn't do it to be clickable. So if I do not click the button, why did I put a button there? Well, this is important because you can do regulation on your project, and you can do your buttons to be clickable after some other operation. So in other words, before these operations happen, the button will not be clickable. You get me? For example, if you design a game, and inside the game there is a next section button, but you don't want the player to pass on to the next section before they, make a, specific score. Well, you can specify that after the player collects a score, the next section button will be clickable. So then the player can pass to the next level after they make the required score. Also, we can change the text color from here. We can change the text size from here. Also, another important thing, we can do our button to be visible or invisible. Now you get it. So if I choose invisible, the button will not be seen. So this feature, of course, can be used for the same purpose and that I mentioned about being clickable or not clickable. Inclickable, I almost said. Inclickable. All right, so now we need to give this button an ID to be able to work on the Java side. So Android Studio gave this button an ID. It is button. All right, so if you want, you can change it. But you know what? I'm going to change it, and I will give it the ID do magic. Great. So now the ID of this button is do magic, and the text of the button is do your magic. So are you ready? Let's go over to the Java side. So there are some codes here before we wrote, so I'm going to delete some of it. And now I need to define that button in here. So I expanded import part above. And you can see here when I defined TextView, Android Studio imported android.widget.textview. Now you must import it in order to work with TextView. And in the same way, when I write here button and I do not choose autocomplete, the word button will be read because we did not import the button class inside the project. So that means I'll just need to import the button class. How am I going to do that? See here, when I write button, and then after that I press Control and space at the same time on the keyboard. After that, Android Studio will show me what I can import. And then I'll just double-click Android.widget as my option. And you see here, Android Studio imported Android.widget.button. And the button word is not read anymore. So now I need to give a name to this button in order to work here on this button. Let's see, I'll give the name button, but you can give whatever name you want, of course. Also, I'm going to need to define this button inside the onCreate method. So I'll write button equals find view by ID. I will write inside the parenthesis r.id.doMagic because the ID of my button was do magic. So now I've defined the button on the Java side. I can do everything in here. So I will write button after dot, and you can see the operations that I can do. Now I will add a click listener, and inside the parentheses, new view on click listener. And then after that, I write inside the onClick method will be executed when I click the button. And I will write inside the onClick method button.set background color, and inside the parenthesis color.black. So this code will then change the background color of the button after I click that button. I mean, that's a predicted result. We'll run it and we'll see. Whew, boy, it is working. You can see that, right? Cool. So we can do operations on other components from here as well. For example, we can change the text of the text view from here. So let me write text.setText, and inside the quotation marks, I have done my magic. Okay, so let's run it. And you see when I click on the button, text of the text view has changed. Now also I can do invisible for this text view. So I'm going to write text.setVisibilityView.invisible. Let's run the app. And you can see, or you can not see, that it is working. So when I click the button, TextView gets invisible. So in other words, you see that it is working because you don't see. Well, okay, well, never mind. You see that invisible is visible. No. Okay. Now I will do the invisible button itself. For my next magic trick. So, you see here that there is another button, but when I click it, it doesn't work. Why? Because we haven't written codes for this button. Now, of course, we can do many more things here, but I just want to point out another topic about buttons. I know, I'm button crazed. I'm obsessed. The design of buttons is as important as its codes. So, because of this, you need to learn different types of button designs. Do I need to say it again? Button types or button designs are as important as its codes. For example, you would want to shape a button to be oval or circular or rectangular. And then when we want to change the button design, we'll need to create a new XML file. So I will right-click the drawable folder, and then after that I will choose New, Drawable Resources File, and it will open in a new window. Now I need to give a name to this new XML file, and I will give the name Button Shape to this file. Click OK. And now we have a new XML file, and its name is Button Shape. Stay with me. There are some codes here, and these are the codes that when we click each button, how its design will be created. So I will delete these codes because I will not work with this right now. I just want to change the shape. So I'm going to define the shape, writing Android shape oval. Now also I need to choose a color for this button. So there are two types of colors, basically solid and stroke. I will define a solid color. And I'll choose a color from here. But you can choose whichever color you want. I'm not looking, so go ahead. So we defined the button shape, but has anything changed on the main activity XML page? Because we need to set, as a background, we created the button shape XML. Now, how will I do this? I'm going to go back to the XML side of the activity main page, and I will change the button background. I will add the button shape XML file under the drawable folder that we created before. And now you can see the button has taken the oval shape. But we defined the width and height to be wrap content. Need to change that too. So I'll change two of them to 150 dp button. Yes, took the shape of a ring. So you can do this square or rectangular. It's up to you. Go play. You're going to have a great time. It's enough for this video. I will see you in the next one.